And hello, my name is Dion Hinchcliffe. I am the CIO Pathway Thought Leader for ASAE 2013, and I also am Chief Strategy Officer of the Dachis Group, and leading that commentator and Information Week commentator as well. So we're here today to talk about my pathway, which is the theme really is talking about how technology change is dramatically changing organizations and how they tackle their business problems. So the most significant advances, particularly what people are talking about here at the show, is smart mobility is the #1 topic that organizations, associations want to figure out how to better address, better tackle. Other topics that we're going to talk about on the pathway is digital transformation, digital engagement, big data, consumerization, things like bring your own device, and social media as well, of course. And in terms of the key takeaways for the session I just gave this morning, I gave the opening session for the pathway. We talked about how CIOs need to be the leader for their business in terms of not just literally translating the old business, the old association to new digital channels, but rethinking fundamentally what's possible, taking advantage of the intrinsic powers of new channels, new digital channels like social media, like smart mobility, mobile apps, app stores, and so on, and rethinking what it means for their business. So how that is done, you can find the presentation for the session this morning and how to actually solve those problems on SlideShare. In terms of the top challenges that CIOs have, we see especially with associations, the smaller staffs, the smaller size of the organization mean that there's a real practical limit on the number of issues that can be addressed, that CIOs can actually take on in the average association. So we looked at strategies for how to outsource or how to use the cloud or how to use SaaS to get more reach, more technology capacity, and also how to decentralize IT so that the theme we talked about, the idea we talked about was making everyone part of the IT department, providing simple ground rules for everyone to enable technological adoption and change in the organization. In terms of top trends, we see mobile first, and clearly in terms of nationwide, how CIOs are thinking about digital in terms of application acquisition, solution deployment. Everyone's really looking at a mobile first approach. Business intelligence, analytics, big data are also hot topics, making sense of the data that organizations already have on hand, and the huge streams of information out there in rich media and unstructured information in social media. In terms of questions that we heard that the audience would like to hear more about, addressing challenges around content production and dissemination. And these days it's pretty easy to outsource some content production cost effectively, but in terms of dissemination, there are now great media services and online applications that will, one of my favorites is Buffer app that allows you to target all of social media with a given message, but it figures out the most optimal time to send it out. It's just one example of how marketing and digital dissemination is improving with the tools that are made available to us. New technologies for associations to consider. We look at mobile enterprise application platforms that allow you to target, build an association solution once, but be able to target everything from Android to iPhone to Windows phones and online websites, all with a single deployment. I would also look at open source big data tools like Hadoop to process information streams. Customer experience management tools to provide consistency across email, across social media, across the website, and all points of contact. Another question that came up was how to address generational gaps. And we do see that younger millennials, younger workers often bring a kit to work that of better tools, better apps, better devices than they're being issued at work, and that's a genuine problem. Especially younger workers want a very technologically centric workplace, and so addressing the generational gap is really about tapping into those workers and helping them reinvent the workplace that involve these new mobile devices and new application technologies that even the CIO may not always be up on. And a final question was, what has surprised me the most in the last 20 years in terms of technological advances? I think it actually surprised me how long it took to us to get to tablets. I think probably the having a few very big companies like Microsoft, not blaming them specifically, defining what it was in terms of new technology really constrained us for a long time. We didn't get the advances that we thought we would, but probably the biggest actual surprise was the whole consumerization phenomenon, where innovation in software, in technology of any kind, stopped coming from the business world and came primarily from the consumer world. That was an amazing thing that I think almost nobody really predicted. And it's really changed everything. Now most new advances, most new ideas come from the consumer world first, and then now make themselves into the enterprises and into our associations. So I'd like to thank you for asking those questions and for having me on the show.